We are back in Las Vegas. Big Ten Football Media Days presented by Discover, coming to you from Mandalay Bay. First time the Big Ten has ever taken this celebration of conference football out west. And speaking of celebrations, it's just now starting to die down in Columbus. The Buckeyes, the national champ, they'll look to become the first outright repeat Big Ten national champs since Minnesota did it in 1940 and 41. We'll have two new coordinators. And I like the key returnees. You have maybe the best offensive player in the country and maybe the best defensive player in the country. That is a pretty good place to start. And they also have one of the foremost coaches in the country, Ryan Day, national championship coach, joining us here. Coach, indulge us, if you will. I know you were saying to the media, hey, we're not defending anything. This is about this year and about starting a new chase. But indulge us just for a moment. When you look back, what's the memory? Is there a moment that sticks with you the most about that run to the title last season?
There's a lot of memories. And I think the final game and being up on the stage with the guys and just seeing the joy in their faces. I think afterwards, seeing so many fans just come up and thank our guys and thank us for just, all the work that's been done and the great run. And then just hearing the stories of like, hey, I got a chance to spend some time with my grandfather right before he passed away, or I brought my son to, the Cotton Bowl, or all the different things. Buckeye Nation, it runs deep and it runs through generations. So it meant so much to so many people. But ultimately it came down to the work that was put in the Woody, all the hours that was put in from early in the morning, all the walkthroughs, all the meetings, the practices to get to where they were. And that whole month was special.
Now, we saw Jeremiah's coming back, Caleb's coming back, but I think it's fair to point out this is a lot of new faces here, right? You guys had more players drafted than any team in the country. Yep. So kind of along the lines of your point from earlier when you were talking more broadly to the media, how do you turn the page? How do you put last year in that memory book and move on to what's ahead for 2025?
Well, when you have guys like Caleb and Sonny and Jeremiah and a bunch of the guys that we have, in that first leadership meeting about 2 weeks after we got done, they were like, take the national championship stuff down. We didn't do anything. This is our chance to leave a legacy. This is our team. And I give them a lot of credit for that. One of the goals that we had was redefine the structure, rebuild the culture. And that's exactly what these guys want to do. They want to rebuild it, not just reinforce it, because a lot of guys didn't know what the culture was like. So I think that was important for those guys to understand that part of it. They want to leave their own legacy behind. And quite honestly, they're so competitive. They're tired of hearing about last year's team. Even though some of them were on last year's team, they're like, we've lost all these guys. Like, they're seeing it as people counting them out. And I think they're excited to get going with this August camp. It's an important camp for us because of the first game.
Coach, Chip Kelly leaves, right? You have a change in coordinator with Brian Hartline.
Yep.
How does that, if at all, change your weekly prep and your game day behavior and what you do when you change coordinators?
We made the decision to hire Chip. Part of the conversation was we have to continue with the Ohio State offense. He came in and changed some things terminology-wise with the run game, but I knew he wasn't going to be here for a long period of time. And so when he left, we didn't want to leave a hole. And looking at some of the coaches that have come before, Urban, watch Coach Saban, there was stability in all three phases, and I felt like that was important there. So when he left, to promote Brian, that was the right progression for him. He needs to now take the next step, in my opinion, in his career. He's got a great career ahead of him, but he's also done such a great job before. He knows that part of it. But the other part I thought that was important was hiring somebody with the offensive line. When Justin Fry went to the Arizona Cardinals, was we spent a lot of time going through that, was making sure that we brought someone with some coordinator experience. Tyler Bowen has a tremendous background. He's a really good coordinator. And we really have three offensive line coaches now with Marcus Johnson and Charlie Dickey. That changed when we were allowed to go to unlimited coaches. Right. So I think he and Brian working together is exciting to see their work this season.
Every team's different. But your team last year, veterans, understood what they wanted to accomplish. Do you see some of those things rubbing off, at least early, on the new leadership that you're going to have this year?
Well, we're young. Yeah. We're talented, but we're young. And so one of the challenges this offseason was like, I thought we got to grow up. We got to grow up. And that's important for guys to understand. I told this before. I think maybe you heard me say it. When we checked in, they said, is there anybody 21 there? I said, holy smokes, 19, 20, and 20. Because when you get around them, they don't look that way. But I think emotionally they're mature. I think they've been through it, some of these guys. A lot of them haven't, though. So they're doing something new for the first time. And anytime you do that, you got to step up in a big way. That's why this August is important. And then as the season goes on, how quickly can they learn from their mistakes and grow so we can play on our best football at the end of the season?
Matt Patricia takes over for your defense. Kind of same question. How much liberty does he have to change things? Where do you spend your time on defense?
Well, obviously my background is in offense,
right.
So the defensive side has always been important to keep stability. So everybody else is still over there. So James Laurinaitis, Tim Walton, Matt
right.
Guerreri, Larry Johnson. And so bringing somebody in that didn't want to just come in and just revamp everything. We wanted to keep a lot of what Jim had done in the past. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue. It's going to be Ohio State defense. We understand how we want to do that. Now, Matt has a great background and is going to bring a lot of value. He's already made a great impression on our team with recruits. His personality is really shown, but his expertise. He's got a great background of putting guys in really good positions. He plays situational football. The majority of it's going to be what we did in the past. But as the season goes on, I think you'll see some new things.
What's the challenge for your elite players, particularly ones that you brought here? They already play at such a high level. Where can they grow in their game, at least on the field?
Yeah. Well, I think you're probably talking about Caleb and Jeremiah in particular.
Yes.
They're both so self-motivated. Jeremiah is faster and stronger and more powerful than he's ever been. Mick Marotti talks all the time. Like every time we do sprints, he's the first guy to cross the line. He's somebody that you don't have to motivate. Caleb's the same way. I think that's part of their DNA is that they want to be the best in the world at what they do, and they set the tone for the rest of the team. But they're not used to losing, and so all of the guys on the team are that way. Like they came in to win championships, and it was great what happened last year, but that's not this year's team, and that's the way they look at it. And I think every time people start doubting with all the people leaving, it just motivates them more.
Coach, what about you? What have you taken from last year that you'll be able to propel this team forward personally?
A lot. I think you always have to learn. I learned about 3 or 4 things today. You have to constantly look to adapt. I think in today's landscape off the field, it's just not the same place as it was. Yeah. 4 years ago, I think in an interview, I said, we're not going to recognize college football in the next 5 years. We don't. Off the field. On the field, I think it's just like it's always been. I think it's even maybe better than it's been. But off the field, the way things are in terms of putting your roster together, retaining your roster, the culture building, it is completely different than it's ever been. And so making sure that we adapt with that along the way is important. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it comes down to relationships and the same timeless virtues and values that have stood the test of time. And that's what I think when I think about last year's team, that's what I think of.
Coach, how much do you talk to the portal players about their experiences at previous places?
Yeah, a decent amount.
Do you?
Yeah. I mean, it was great when Caleb came in and Seth McLaughlin, just about Coach Saban and what he did. And I would ask Will Howard a lot. Yeah, it was. And the thing I would ask a lot is, like, give me what you see as the biggest difference between where you were, where you are. What do you see about our culture, and what do you see about their culture? And they'll just tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And it's always good. Same thing with coaches.
I do want to ask you a little bit about the quarterback spot. I think it's interesting just in that you could have had any portal quarterback, or certainly pick among the top 3, let's say. People would be beating down their door to come play for you. And yet you decided not to go in that direction. So what's the balancing act kind of in this day and age where anyone can transfer at any time, but you're also, as you always have at Ohio State, recruiting the absolute elite talent? What made you decide to roll with what you've got versus, hey, let's go out and get the best guy in the country?
Well, now, even though it seems year to year, I think it's more important than ever to recruit the right people from high school into your program and then look to retain and develop them. So it was great to have Will last year, but it's 1 year and then you're kind of reloading again. And so we want to bring in guys and develop them along the way. And so I think with the 3 guys that we have, that's the focus. And we believe that there's enough there, otherwise we wouldn't have recruited them. And we've poured 2 years now into Lincoln and a whole year into Julian. And so we feel like those guys are going to take the next step here. It's a big August. We're going to allow them to compete. They certainly show, the things that we think can lead us to another championship. But they're going to have to go do it on the field.
Coach, how can they make the playoffs better?
I really liked the playoff system the way it was. I do think there are ways that they can make the experience better for the players.
How?
Yeah, I just think it's such a special opportunity, and I think There's different ways, and we've given our feedback on that to make it really special for the guys. 'Cause it's all about the players who have earned the opportunity to play in that game. There should be memorable things that they can take away from that game, memorabilia, different things along the way. I think in the past, as you remember, all the bowls, you'd be there for a week and you had all these different trips that you would go on.
Right.
That's not the case anymore. So I think where we stay, maybe keeping us away from downtown and those types of things, I think help with the experience. The way that it's formatted, I think it's clear that the seating needs to be looked at.
Right.
I think that's important. I do think expanding the playoffs is only a good thing. And I think for the Big Ten, I've said this before, having 4 amount of qualifiers is the way to go because we don't have the same amount of games in season as some of the other conferences.
Final question for you. You opened the season with Texas. Last year you opened with Akron. I mean, all due respect to the Zips, I don't mean this to compare the two, but it's different. That's apples and oranges in terms of an opener. How does it change the approach to the season when you've got a marquee game to start things off? It's
a big difference. We did it with Notre Dame a couple of years before. I remember talking to Dabo about when he played Georgia last year. It's just it has your attention early on, and it's had our attention really from the off season. But that ramp up even starts in July with the mindset, and now it's going to go into camp. And so it can come down to one play, the first game of the year. So tackling's important, ball security is important, being clean, all those things will be utmost important. So we got to get up to speed real fast with a young team, but we're excited about it. I mean, what a great way to start the season. It's great for us, great for them, great for college football.
It's got to help that you played them last year, right? The players know your players know
they know. I mean, they got a lot of respect for him.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good team, very talented, as you guys know. A great young quarterback coming in, but our guys are fired up for it. I can tell you right now, man. They're jacked up, especially being at home.
Yeah. We can't wait to get to camp. I know there will be some heightened intensity.
Yes, there will.
When we arrive in Columbus. Ryan Day, congrats again.
Thanks, guys.
On last year, and we look forward to seeing what's ahead for the Buckeyes this season.
Sounds good.